Hi, in this video I'm going to talk about my 4-channel quantizer module for Eurorack. I've got a quick patch set up to just demonstrate what it can do. I'll go through each feature independently in the next part of the video, but for now what you're hearing is the output of 3 analog oscillators which are connected to the volts per octave out, and there's also one MIDI controlled digital oscillator which is my 8-bit waves module, which you see here next to it. So in this patch, each volts per octave input is connected to a separate 8-step sequencer, and all the 8-step sequencers are being clocked at the same rates. So I've simplified the patch being played now. All you hear now is one analog voice connected to one channel of the quantizer. Each channel runs down the front of the module in a column. At the top of the column you've got volts per octave input, which is connected to the sequencer at the moment. Obviously you could connect that to a changing analog waveform of any sort. You've got a gate input. What that does is it lets you stop the quantizer changing notes on the channel. So if I connect a cable in here, that turns off. The gate input is normal to on, but as soon as you put a cable in, that's controlled by the signal in the cable. So as I change the rate of the LFO, you can hear that the quantizer, as the LFO goes low or off, the quantizer stops changing notes for a while. So now it's gone back to normal. Now I've removed that cable. The next one down is volts per octave out for each channel. This is obviously connected to the volts per octave inputs of an analog oscillator. What I'm not actually using right now on that oscillator is the gate out and the gate out length control, but I'll just connect that up now. So now you can hear that the output from that analog oscillator is being gated on and off because I have it connected to an envelope generator which is connected to a VCA. But the main reason I've included the gate out length control is because you can make, by increasing the gate, you can create interesting phasing patterns with your sequencer, because if you select the gate to longer than a beat length on your sequencer, then the period when your quantizer is looking for a new note will change every cycle of the sequencer. So you can get quite interesting phasing patterns that way. So you can see the gate length can have quite a dramatic impact on the sort of tune you get out. So without changing your sequencer at all, you can kind of move between various different melodies just using the gate out length control. So the MIDI output is just a stereo jack, which is wired in what's called a Type B wiring configuration. This module, I'm actually going to supply it with an adapter to go from your standard MIDI cable that looks like this to this stereo type cable, but that cable is commonly available as well. It's called MIDI to TRS Type B. You can buy that from Thonk in the UK, for instance, and that's also compatible directly with my 8-bit Waves module. So if you buy both, you can just wire the stereo output from this quantizer to the stereo input, MIDI input on the 8-bit Waves. I'm just going to swap from analog over to the MIDI voice now. So regarding MIDI, the output is essentially mirroring the analog output from each channel. So for each MIDI channel 1 to 4, you'll have a gate length and a monophonic voiced note on the MIDI channel. So if I change over the volts per octave input to channel 4, which is what MIDI is listening to, I'll just change the gate length there a bit. And 8-bit Waves is just set up to listen on MIDI channel 4 at the moment. But yeah, the gate length control still works on this. Gate in, etc. is just mirrored on the MIDI output. Each of the 4 channels of the quantizer are completely independent, except that they're all controlled by this kind of keyboard style arrangement of switches on the side. So these switches let you select which notes will be played out of a 12-note scale across all of the 4 channels. Of course, this is only a single 12-note snapshot of a scale, but this extends up to just over 4 octaves. In analog terms, its outputs up to 4.096 volts, so that's just 4 octaves and a couple more notes. And you probably hear, if I deselect certain notes, the tune suddenly gets very simple because each note is not being, certain notes are now not being voiced. If the quantizer doesn't detect a particular note, or that is to say, if the quantizer finds that the analog input, volts per octave, hits a note which it shouldn't voice, it will just continue voicing the last one.